Okay, good morning, students. We are so happy to have you here in the class with us. This then is the Introduction to Accounting 1A or INAC 5111 exam revision session. We are planning three sessions this morning. We'll give you little breaks in between each of the three sessions. And this first one, we are going to jump in and look at learning unit number 6. Please have ready with you there next to your textbook, some paper, pen, and calculator. That will help you to make it easier for you to follow along with our teaching this morning. So here in class with you, you've got myself, Ina Frost. I will be your presenter this morning, and then I am assisted by Salama Parker, who will help us as well, and in particular to answer all of your questions. So remember to use your chats to pose any questions that you may have, and Salama will be helping you with those. Please remember, yes, the session is being recorded. The recording will be made available on YouTube. Remember to go to the School of Management Studies channel, and there you will be able to find the recording for today's classes. Okay, so as we said, we're now preparing you for the upcoming examination. This examination will be a 2-hour long paper, and it will be for 100 marks. The exam is closed book, and it's going to cover all of your learning units in your Introduction to Accounting 1A textbook. So we're jumping in with Learning Unit 6 revision first, and Learning Unit 6 deals with the inventory systems. And the reason we start with Learning Unit 6 is because Learning Unit 6 now will impact the way we answer all of our questions in the exam. So that's why we start off with Learning Unit 6, and then later today we will also revise Learning Units 4 and 5. So let's see, what is it that they want us to know once we've studied Learning Unit 6. So the first thing they tell us in our module outline and our learning unit outcomes is we must know our theory when it comes to learning unit number 6. So we can test you on theory on the inventory systems. Then you have to be able to calculate cost of sales. You have to know how to prepare the general ledger accounts for inventory and related transactions. You need to know how to also reflect these transactions in the accounting equation, and then what your journals will look like for your different inventory systems. Now, Learning Unit 6 shows us how to do all of this for the periodic inventory system. And then you will recall from earlier in the semester that Learning Units 2 to 5 dealt with the perpetual inventory system. So that's why we are jumping in this morning with Learning Unit 6, because going forward, we can now test you on the general ledger, the accounting equation, and your journals for either one of these inventory systems. So let's just start by explaining to you what we understand by the two inventory systems. So in terms of our perpetual inventory system, in this system, we are going to continuously update our inventory balance. So any purchases of inventory or any sales of inventory, we are immediately going to record it in the inventory general ledger account. And so at any given point, your amount reflected in your accounting records for inventory should also equal the physical inventory that you have got on hand. This system is the best used by large retailers. So your Mr. Price or your Spar or your Checkers, they will use the perpetual inventory system, because you need to have access to good technology if you want to make use of your perpetual inventory system. Then the periodic inventory system, this one will typically be used by small or medium-sized businesses that do not have access to sophisticated technology. In this inventory system, we have to do a physical stock take if we want to determine our inventory numbers at any given point. But of course, as accountants, our big question is now, how will we go about to account the entries in these two systems? So that's really the part that we are interested in and that we can test you on, is how will you go about to record a purchase of inventory or a sale of inventory, making use of these two different inventory systems. And now for the exam, as soon as you receive any question now in the exam, the first thing you have to determine is which inventory system is being used by this question. Because you will see now in the next slides where I show you the difference between the two inventory systems. You will see that we account for the purchase and the sale of inventory differently depending on the inventory system. So therefore, as soon as you now start an exam question, the first thing you have to check in that question is which inventory system was being used by the business in the question. So we see in this example, the question is for a business using periodic inventory, and in this question, it is for a business using perpetual inventory. And as I go through my next slides, you will see it definitely makes a difference in how we do the general ledger or the general journal entries, or even the accounting equation based on which inventory system is being used in the business. So please don't forget to check for this, because it makes a difference in your answer. And if you're answering for the wrong inventory system, of course, that will impact your marks negatively. Okay, so let's begin then. So on my left-hand side of the screen here, I'm going to show you the impact that the entries have on the perpetual inventory system. So that's the ones colored in red. And then here on my right-hand side of the screen, I'm going to show you the impact of the entries on the periodic inventory system. So those will be the ones in blue. So let's begin. So the first important fact that we have to note, and that now doesn't matter if we're using perpetual inventory or periodic inventory, inventory remains one of the assets of the business, and it is a current asset, and therefore inventory will always have a debit balance. So you can see here for both the inventory systems, inventory, the opening balance is shown on the debit side of the general ledger account. So this is a universal truth, irrespective of the inventory system. And the other important fact to remember is we will always record inventory excluding VAT. So again, it doesn't matter which of the two inventory systems is being used. Inventory is always shown as the amount excluding VAT. So these are the first two important facts that you have to remember when we speak about the inventory systems. If you want to follow alongside with me in your textbook, you can turn to page 177 in the 2026 version of the textbook, and you can look there at example 6.2. This example is really an excellent example. It consists out of 10 illustrations, and we will work through all of those now in the next slides. And in these illustrations, they show you the difference between the two inventory systems when it comes to recording certain entries. So if you want to follow alongside me, quickly get your textbook and open up on page 177. Okay, everyone ready with your textbooks? Then let's now take some transactions and see how we're going to record them in the two inventory systems. And to show you the contrast between the two inventory systems, I'm going to start start by showing you what these entries look like in the accounting equation, because I think in the accounting equation, it's the easiest way for you to see the main differences between the two systems. So let's start with this entry then. So we can purchase inventory, and we can either do it as a cash purchase, paying via EFT, or it can be a credit purchase where we will pay later for the inventory. If we look at the accounting equation then for the perpetual inventory system, so we'll start with the perpetual inventory system, we will see here that we are going to debit the trading inventory account, and this account, of course, is one of your assets. So therefore, the impact on the accounting equation will then be to increase your assets when we have a cash purchase of inventory, and also when we have a credit purchase of inventory. But in the periodic inventory system, things are going to look a little bit different. You can see down here, this time around, I'm going to debit an account called the purchases account. And this account is one of the expense accounts of the business. So you can see up here in the perpetual inventory system, I debit trading inventory, which is an asset account, where in the periodic inventory system, I debit purchases, which is an expense account. So the impact on the accounting equation is also going to look different, because this time around, the impact is going to lie under owner's equity, and it is not going to be under the assets, because purchases is an expense account, where trading inventory is an asset account. So that is the impact on the accounting equation when we purchase inventory for the two inventory systems. Okay, I'm going to pause just a minute to give you a quick chance, an opportunity to just read through my slide. Okay, everyone good with the accounting equation? Now let's go and look in the general ledger and see how these two entries will be recorded in our general ledger. So on this side, remember, is where I'm showing you the perpetual inventory side. And here you can see I've got my inventory account, and there is my cash purchase of inventory and my credit purchase of inventory, all showing here on the debit side of the inventory account. Now let's look over this side now at the periodic inventory system. So here, we're not going to record it here in the inventory account, but we're going to create that brand new expense account called purchases. And in the purchases account on the debit side, we're going to record the cash and the credit purchases of inventory. And if you want to follow alongside with me, you can now turn over to pages 178 and 179 in your textbook. And there you will see illustrations 2 and 3 deals with the cash purchases of inventory and the credit purchases of inventory. And they show it in the different journals that will be used for those transactions. So now we've bought inventory, but once we've had a look at the inventory, we can see that maybe the inventory is of an inferior quality, and now we want to return it to the original supplier. This time around, we're going to credit the trading inventory account because we are sending the inventory back to the supplier, and the impact will be to reduce our assets. On the periodic inventory side, we are going to create a brand new account called Purchases Returns. This Purchases Returns account also impacts our owner's equity. Just make sure you look at the symbol. So it's going to actually increase our owner's equity when we return inventory to the original supplier. What will it look like in the general ledger? So in the general ledger for the perpetual inventory system, we are going to credit the inventory account. And for the periodic inventory system, there we're going to create that brand new account called purchases returns. And we're also putting it on the credit side. So you can see now that for the two inventory systems, the entry is always on the same side. So for the two systems, when we return inventory previously purchased, we're going to, for both systems, we're going to have a credit entry. It is just where the credit entry is going to be that is different. In the perpetual inventory system, we credit the inventory account, where for the periodic inventory system, we credit the purchases returns account. And again, if you want to have a look at this in the textbook, you can turn over now to page 180 in your textbook, and there you will see illustration number 4 deals with the return of inventory. I wonder if you're also starting to see a pattern here. Have you noticed that in the perpetual inventory system, all of the entries we've made so far, we've made directly in the inventory account. So when we bought inventory, we debited inventory, and when we returned inventory, we credited the inventory account. Where on this side, on the periodic inventory side, have you noticed that our inventory account balance has remained unchanged? We have made no other entries in our inventory account. Instead, we opened up 2 new general ledger accounts, one called purchases and one called purchases returns. And that is where we recorded the purchases of the inventory and the inventory returned to the customers. Salama, how is it going out there with our students? And do you want to give them a quick recap?
Yes, Ina. So far, no questions. So I'm sure they I haven't seen them actually post anything, but yes, please just do a summary, guys. Please just remember that with perpetual inventory, the most important thing to remember is that inventory is a current asset. Okay. And in the periodic inventory, the inventory account will also be in your general ledger, and as Ina just shared with us now, that there will be no change on the balance. We're going to have additional accounts for periodic, and those additional accounts are your purchases and your purchases returns. As for perpetual, everything regarding what we've purchased and what we've returned is recorded into the one account, which is the inventory asset account. Thank you, Ina.
Thanks, Salama. Okay, students, so there Salama has given you a quick recap then on what we've spoken about so far. And if you've maybe just joined us, please open up your textbook. We're now on page 180 in your textbook, and we were just talking about that illustration number 4. Please don't forget, students, you can optimize the chats. So if you have got any questions, or as I'm explaining some of the issues, if you think about something, please optimize our chats. If you're not sure where to find it, if you're looking at your screen right up at the top, you should be seeing a little speech bubble, and under it is the word chats. And then if you click on that, a panel will open up on the right-hand side of your screen, and that's then where you can communicate with myself and Salama so that we can make sure we're answering all your questions today so that you are well prepared for the upcoming exam. Also, of course, you're welcome to send us little emojis. So if we go through something that you're finding particularly useful, then please also just send us an emoji so that we know we are on the right track. We're so pleased to have you with us in the class today, myself and Salama, and we really want you to optimize and get the most out of this revision session. Right, so far now we've looked at the opening balance for the two inventory systems. We've looked at how we're going to record it when we buy inventory, and we've looked at how we're going to record it when we return inventory. Now, the next one we're going to talk about is now drawings by the owner. So that will now be our next topic or next entry that we're going to look at. So first up then, in the perpetual inventory system, we are going to credit the trading inventory account if the owner takes any of the inventory for their own use, and that will of course impact your assets in the accounting equation. Now, I wonder if there's any of you that can guess what it's going to look like in the periodic inventory system. So what do you think? Which account will be credited in the periodic inventory system? In the periodic inventory system, the credit is going to sit next to the purchases account. Okay, so can you see the difference? In the perpetual inventory system, we credit trading inventory, and in the periodic inventory system, we're going to credit that purchases account. And remember again, the purchases account is an expense account. So you can see here, the impact is sitting under owner's equity. So the minus 5,600, that's your drawings, and the plus 5,600, that is this credit entry under purchases. So just make sure you see this entry over here because it's a little bit unusual. So both of the entries are impacting owner's equity. Assets are zero, liabilities are zero, both entries here under owner's equity. Okay, again, maybe I'll just pause for a minute so you have a chance to look at this entry. Okay, everyone good? Let's go and look in our general ledger. So again, if you want to be following alongside with me, please now turn to page 182 in your textbook. I'm now dealing with illustration number 6. So this is the one where there's drawings of inventory by the owner. In the general ledger then, we are going to credit the inventory account. There you can see on the credit side, there's that entry. And in the periodic inventory system, we are going to be crediting the purchases account. And again, there you can see is the entry for the drawings. Okay, and in your textbook, as I said, if you want to go and look at page 182, illustration number 6. Okay, so let's now go and have a look at a past paper question, just to show you as well how we've addressed or tested some of these concepts in past papers. So the first thing I just wanted to show you is this. This is now your 2025 exam paper. And the first thing they actually asked the student was to explain to Susan why moving to the perpetual inventory system might be beneficial. So you can see right in there, we jump in with a theory question. And you'll recall earlier when I showed you the learning outcomes, one of the outcomes was to know and make sure you know your theory. Then the second question they asked the students was around the drawings by the owner. So they asked, what is the main difference between the general journal entries when inventory is taken by the owner for the two different inventory systems? So the student just had to explain the difference based on the inventory systems. So let's go and look at those two general journal entries and see if we can spot the difference. So when we create a general journal entry for drawings of inventory, then we are going to debit the drawings account and we're going to credit the inventory account if the business is using perpetual inventory. And a reminder again, your inventory amount, that's the amount excluding any VAT. A little bit later this morning, when we do learning unit number 5, I will talk in a lot more detail about how to construct a general journal entry. For now, I'm just going to show you the two entries to illustrate the difference between the two inventory systems. In the periodic inventory system then, where does the difference lie? The difference is here in the credit entry, where we're now going to credit the purchases account. So remember, in perpetual inventory, drawings by the owner will be credited to the inventory account, where for your periodic inventory system, drawings by the owner is credited to the purchases account. You can see both amounts will be the amount excluding any VAT. If you want to practice more general journal entries for drawings, then you can look at question 5.4 in your textbook, and you'll find that on page 164 in your 2026 textbook. And then you can practice specifically days number 5 and 6. If you try those two entries, they also deal with drawings by the owner. In the general ledger, how will we record drawings by the owner? So we're going to credit the perpetual inventory system. We're going to credit the inventory account, and in your periodic inventory system, that credit entry lies against your drawings account. And as I mentioned earlier, you can go and look on page 182 in your textbook. Now we're going to look at the sale of inventory, and it can either be a cash sale or it can be a credit sale. So when we have a cash sale, of course, we're going to take the cash into account in the bank account. And when we have a credit sale, we will create a debtor for that sale. But can you see on my slide that for each of these two sales transactions, I actually have two entries. The top entry records the sale, and then the next entry records the cost of sales entry. And I repeat that down here for the credit sale. The top one records the credit sale, and the bottom one records the cost of sales. So please remember, when you are asked to do a sale of inventory in the perpetual inventory system, that there's always two entries to record. There's the actual sale that must be recorded, and then the cost of that sale. Because in the perpetual inventory system, as soon as we make a sale, we also update our inventory records. However, in the periodic inventory system, it now looks a little different. In the periodic inventory system, we still record the cash and credit sale transaction, but can you see on your screens there, we have no entry for the cost of sale. Can everyone see that on their screens? I'm highlighting it here for you with my little highlighter. There is no entry for the cost of sales when we do the periodic inventory system. Okay, so that is a very important difference to note between your two inventory systems. Let's go over and see if we can see it better in our general ledger. So here is my general ledger. And if you want to follow alongside with me, you can look at illustrations number 7 for cash sales and illustration number 8 for the credit sales. So pages 183, 184 of your textbook. So here for our periodic inventory system, let's start with that one. We record the sale in the sales account, but we do nothing else. We only record the sale. Here on the perpetual inventory side, here now we have a new account. And that brand new account is called the cost of sales account. This account is one of your expense accounts, and therefore we're going to debit the account when we do a sale of inventory. So you can see we debit the cost of sales account, and over here, highlighted for you in bright pink, we're going to credit the inventory account. And here on the periodic side, we do not have an equivalent entry for the cost of sales. Can everyone see that on the slide? Okay, so when we talk a cost of sales then, for a perpetual inventory, as you've now seen, we're going to calculate the cost of sale at every entry. So every time the business either has a sale or a sales returns, there will be a cost of sales entry. However, here on the periodic inventory side, we're going to do a different calculation for cost of sales. Here, we are going to only calculate the cost of sale at the end of the year. And we have a formula to calculate the cost of sales. And if you want to follow alongside with me, you can now turn back to page 176 of your textbook. And you'll see right there at the bottom of the page is the formula for how to calculate cost of sales when you use periodic inventory. And you've got to make sure that you know this formula for when it gets tested in the exam. So let's read the formula then from your textbook. The formula begins with the opening inventory. So we're going to start with the inventory at the beginning of the year. We're going to add to it the purchases made during the year, less any purchase returns. We can add to it any costs that we had to incur to get our inventory ready for resale. And that includes things like your carriage, your import tariffs, and your custom duties. And then the last thing we're going to do is we're going to take a physical stock take, and we are going to subtract the inventory on hand at the end of the year. And that is the formula that we use to calculate cost of sales in the periodic inventory system. So let's have a look again at an exam question. So we're back to that 2025 exam paper. And we can see here, they asked the student to calculate the cost of sales at the end of March 2025. And they gave the student, you can see we gave the opening inventory, we gave the purchases, purchase returns, we gave some of those additional costs, as well as closing inventory. So this is what our calculation is going to look like. And remember again, of course, in your exam, you're going to show us your full calculation like I've done here on the slide. And you are going to remember to show the action. Am I adding a particular amount, or am I subtracting the amount? And that brings us to exam tip number 1. So remember, in your exam, you are going to show us all of your workings. And for a calculation like this, you're going to make sure that your lecturer who's marking your paper can also see whether you are adding an amount or are you subtracting that particular amount. Because remember, there are certain things that you can do in the exam that will just improve your overall marks in the assessment. And one such thing is to always show us your workings as well as your actions in the workings. Now, in the question, you will remember I said that we were allowed to add the carriage and the import duties and the custom duties. We were allowed to add all of that to the cost of our inventory. And that is explained to you in the textbook in example 6.1. And this example 6.1, let me just find us the page number quickly. That is on page 174. So on page 174 in your textbook, if you want to turn there now, that deals with example 6.1. And this example 6.1 tells us at what price should we record our inventory. And we use that in the calculation of the cost of inventory or the cost of sales as well. And again, this is something that you should know and that we can test you on in the exam. And if you want to test your understanding of this example 6.1, then try question 6.2 in your textbook. Just to make sure that you understand which of these we are allowed to add to the cost of inventory. And just a quick reminder, all the textbook questions have got solutions, and those solutions you can find at the back of your textbook. Now, how will we go about to record these additional costs in our general ledger, and what will be the impact of these costs on the accounting equation? Let's have a look. So for example, I've just got up here import duties and carriage on purchases. When we incur these costs in the perpetual inventory system, we're going to just add it directly into our inventory account. So we're going to debit our inventory account with all of these costs, and that will then result in an increase of your assets. On the periodic inventory side, though, it's going to look a little bit different. On the periodic inventory side, I'm going to create new general ledger accounts for each one of these costs. And all of these accounts are expense accounts in the general ledger, and we're still debiting these accounts. And because they're all expense accounts, our impact once again is going to be felt under our owner's equity because they are expense accounts. Again, I think I'm just going to pause here to give you a minute to read through this slide. Now, what does this look like in the general ledger? Let's go and have a look. So if you want to be following alongside with me, you can now turn to page 181 in your textbook, and you can look at illustration number 5. So illustration number 5 shows us how to record some of these extra costs, and they've chosen to show it to us in the petty cash journal. In the general ledger, then, these costs are directly recorded in the inventory account. So here you can see on the debit side of the inventory account, that's where I'm recording all these additional costs. But on the periodic inventory side, we said we're going to be creating all of those extra inventory accounts, all of those extra expense accounts like import duties, carriage on purchases, or custom duties. All of them get their own general ledger account, but all of the entries is sitting on the debit side. So debit side for periodic inventory and debit side for perpetual inventory. Let's go and have a look at another past paper question. This one now is from the 2024 exam. And here they asked the student to calculate the cost of trading inventory, specifically for a periodic inventory system. So now we know we're going to show the workings. And we're not just going to show the workings, we're also going to be showing the actions in which amounts am I adding and which amounts am I subtracting. So again, we're going to make sure our marker can see that clearly. So in this question, they told us the price of the inventory before trade discounts. So that's where I start my calculation. Then I subtract that 5% trade discount. And then I'm allowed to add in those additional costs like we saw in example 6.1. and that then gives me the full cost of my inventory. And as we said in our exam paper, we'll be showing our workings and we'll be showing our action, the plus or the minus. And just to show you just how important it is to show all of your workings, I've brought with me a little example here. So just to show you what a difference it can make to show your workings. Here we have two students. Student number A showed us no workings. They gave the incorrect answer and then they got 0 out of 5 for that question. Student B showed us all their workings. You can see both students gave exactly the same answer. So in other words, both students made exactly the same mistake. But for student B, because we could see what the mistake was, they got 4 out of 5 marks. So that is quite a drastic difference. You will all have to agree with me on that. So student A getting 0 out of 5, student B getting 80% for this answer. So please, everyone, it really does make a big difference. So show us all of your workings in the exam. So what do I mean by workings? What is it really that we want to see on your answer booklet? So we've now all agreed that you can't just give us the final amount. That's not the way to do it, because if that final amount is incorrect, like in this instance, then you lose all of your marks. So let's look at the next scenario. What do we think about this student? Will we be happy with workings like this? Salama, can everyone send us a quick emoji, a thumbs up, thumbs down? What do you think about the next student? Are those good workings or not? Can you all quickly just send us thumbs up, thumbs down? What do you think? Will that be good workings in an exam? Okay, I hope you all gave this one a thumbs down, because will the marker be able to understand what was added and what was subtracted here? I don't think so. Oh gosh. Sorry guys,
Thumbs down.
Oh, it's a thumbs down. Okay, perfect.
Thumbs down.
Thank you for
Thumbs
that,
down.
Salama. Thanks. I'm glad you could all see that, students, because you can see here your marker is not really able to follow what actions was taken here. What did the student add? What did the student subtract? So even though, yes, they nicely showed all of the amounts, again, there was still something missing. So that brings us to the last student, and this is the kind of workings that all of your lecturers want to be seeing in the exam. Because in this one, there's all the amounts and there's all the actions. So now it's easy for the lecturer to see how did the student calculate that 33,780. So please, students, can you all make sure that this is what we will see when we mark your papers in the upcoming exam? The next thing we need to talk about now is settlement discounts. So now we've purchased inventory on credit and we're now paying for that inventory. And now the supplier says, okay, because you're settling your account, we are going to give you a settlement discount. So in this scenario, then our supplier gave us R1,000 settlement discount. This is not a trade discount. A little bit later on in the presentation, we will talk about the differences in the discounts. But here we are specifically speaking about settlement discounts. So the settlement discounts then will be credited in the perpetual inventory account, and then the impact will be on your assets. In the periodic inventory system, the credit is going to sit in your purchases account and the impact will be felt under owner's equity. And remember, again, your purchases is an expense account, and that's why the entry will sit under owner's equity. What will it look like in the general ledger? So in the general ledger, then we said we're going to credit the inventory account, and there you can see is the inventory account on the credit side of my inventory account. And on this side, in the periodic inventory system, it's also a credit, but this time the credit is sitting in my purchases account. Okay, can everyone see the difference? Now, these entries, as you can see, are recorded in the general journal. So let's just quickly go and have a look as well. What will these entries look like in our general journal? So in the general journal, then the entry is going to look like this. For perpetual inventory, we debit the creditor's control account and we credit the inventory account. And remember again, the inventory account is always the one excluding any VAT. In the periodic inventory system, who can guess? What change are we going to make to this entry? Does anyone know what is the big change we're going to make? The big change is the credit entry is now going to be in the purchases account and no longer in the inventory account. The rest of the entry looks exactly the same. It's only that we're going to credit purchases, not inventory, if your business makes use of the periodic inventory system. And this number is again the number excluding VAT. That's why at the start of this video, I said you have to check which inventory system is being used for that particular question. Because if you don't check that, then of course you will not be making the correct entry if you don't know which one of the two inventory systems is being used in the business. So therefore, always when you start an exam question, the first thing then to make sure you know is the inventory system, because it makes a difference in how we record certain transactions, and your settlement discounts received is one of those transactions. If you want to practice more entries just like this, then you can go back to that question 5.4 in learning unit number 5, and you can look at days 16, 17, and 19 for more entries where you can practice the general journal entries for settlement discounts received. So here we're back to our 2025 exam. And in this exam, then they're asking us to do the general journal entry for this 8% settlement discount. So remember now again, what am I going to be checking first? First thing I'm going to check is which inventory system is used in this question so that I will know then how to make this entry. Can any of you make this entry? I think I'm just going to pause here for a moment and maybe just on your A4 paper, just quickly jot down, just write down which general ledger accounts will be impacted by this entry. I'm going to pause a minute to give you a chance to just jot that down on your A4 paper. Okay, has everyone had a moment just to think about it and to think which general ledger accounts will be impacted by this entry? So let's have a look if yours agrees with mine. So remember, we said they're using the perpetual inventory system in this question. So that means we are going to be crediting the inventory account. So we're going to be debiting the creditor's control, and that will be the amount including VAT. We are going to be crediting the output VAT account with just the VAT. And then we're also going to be crediting our inventory account with the amount excluding VAT. Okay, so that is what the entry will look like when we receive a settlement discount from one of our suppliers. Salama, anything you'd like to add at this point, or any of those students' questions that you just want to talk to?
Hi, Ina, there's no questions, but maybe if you could just go back to the previous slide, and then I could just maybe just to recap what you've explained there. Okay, so when it's perpetual inventory again, as Ines mentioned, and it's settlement discount, so you will have to remember that the contra account that will be affected here will be trading inventory. It's very important for you to remember from a business perspective, what are you buying from your supplier, your creditor? You are buying inventory. Because I think the most important thing here, Ina, is sometimes the students are not aware what is the contra account. They are maybe aware, yes, that it's the supplier. The supplier is the creditor, okay? But they should always remember that what is the business purchasing from the supplier? And that is why the discount is linked to whatever has been purchased. Okay, and always remember that creditors control according to your debt click rules. Okay, if you want to decrease your liabilities, you must debit. Okay, and discount decrease the amount that is owing to our creditors. Thank you, Ina. Thanks.
Thanks, Salama. Okay, students, I hope you've all got that now, how we're going to make the entry. But remember, this is for a settlement discount. And as I mentioned a little bit later on, we'll also talk about trade discounts because we can test you on those in the exam. And as Lama said, actually in this question, they actually did say that it was for the purchase of inventory. So they kind of gave you a little hint to know that the contra account is the inventory account. So always look out for all these little nuggets in the exam
Ina, I think you're
question.
breaking up.
Oh, goodness. Can you hear me better now, Salama?
Yes,
Is
perfect.
it better
Thank
now?
you. There we
Oh,
go.
sorry about that, students.
Yes.
So as I said, just to remind you, in the exam questions, we sometimes give you little nuggets to kind of just help you along to know what is the entry that we are looking for. Okay, so now we have recorded all of our transactions for the perpetual inventory and for the periodic inventory. So there's one more illustration in your textbook that you can look at in example 6.2. And that is illustration number 10. This illustration in number 10 then gives you the full general ledger accounts for both the systems. So that will give you all of these accounts that we have been working through progressively in this morning. I also want to just refer you to one more page in your textbook. Way back in learning unit number 2, page 68 of your textbook. I don't know if you can remember, that page included this table. And this table is a summary of the two inventory systems, and it lists all the most common entries in the two inventory systems. And then it gives you an explanation of how these entries will impact and be recorded in the inventory systems. So please also go and look back at learning unit number 2 when you are preparing yourself on learning unit number 6. Then we also said you need to be able to do the accounting equation questions, and you now need to be able to do it for both inventory systems. So you need to be able to answer a perpetual inventory system question or periodic. And I'm giving you your textbook questions here that you can go and revise for the two inventory systems. And then also just a reminder that you need to be able to do accounting equation questions with or without VAT. So again, I'm just giving you on this little sticky note here, the questions to revise for the different inventory systems and with VAT or without VAT. So please make sure you've revised all of these questions for the upcoming exam. And then, as we said right up at the start for Learning Unit 6, you have to make sure that you know your theory. Okay, so as we say here, theory is major. So make sure you know your theory. So what do we mean by that? What types of theory questions can we ask you? We can ask you, for example, multiple choice, match the column, true or false, complete a sentence, write a short answer, write a short paragraph. And then, of course, the big one is, remember, you also can't do your application questions if you don't know your theory. So don't just always think of theory in terms of a standalone question. Also remember, if you don't know the formula to calculate cost of sales, you won't be able to do an application question where you are asked to calculate cost of sales. So always remember that your theory is important for all different types of questions. And it's not only important for learning unit number 6, but it is important for all 6 of your learning units to make sure that you know your theory contained in each one of the 6 learning units. Salama, I think at this point we'll give our students a short break. I don't know if there's anything you want to just add on before we step away from learning unit number 6.
Hi, Ina. Yes, maybe one thing we should also remind them is that the revision questions, okay, at the back for learning unit 6 for the subsidiary journals, they could revise revision question number 11. That is preparing the journals for a business using the periodic inventory system. And most important, also, yes, my top tip here, guys, you are not just studying accounting, you learning the language of business. And please, 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 just believe in yourself. We know you can do this. Okay. And as Ina has mentioned now, she's actually done a lovely comparison between the difference between perpetual and periodic. So going forward now into learning unit 5, you'll also see, okay, that for perpetual, the focus is on inventory, and then for periodic, we now have an expense account known as purchases, and of course, are additional accounts. Okay, Ina introduced you to the purchases returns, and then we have all your transport costs. And those were now the additional accounts that were impacted by all the different transactions in the business, whether we purchase goods, whether we returned goods, and also our transport costs in getting those goods to the business. And very important also for learning unit 6, as Ina mentioned, is please revise that past paper question that she just shared on how to calculate the cost of sales. Please do study that formula, and don't forget to show your workings, and the focus is on the action. We need to see when you are adding and when you are subtracting. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Ina.
Great. Thanks, Salama, for that recap for all of our students. So, right, students, we're going to take a small break now. I see on my side it's 11 o'clock. So, if we can maybe all join each other back in the classroom at 11:05, and then we are going to be jumping in with Learning Unit 5. If you forgot your textbook and paper in the first round, please remember to get those ready then for us to start again at 11:05. Also, please remember to sign our register. Salama has been posting the link, and you're still free to post questions in the break that we can discuss then after the break. Okay, I'll see everyone at 11:05.